So the format of the format of the podcast is parts of me. It's part of what I got going on in my life, and hopefully it's effective to what's going on in your life. I'm just trying to share with you guys what I'm dealing with, what's going on, and I'm being very vulnerable, very personal about everything, but also going to share with you how I deal with it. That's the main key point that I hope you get from hearing this podcast, is that how do I deal with those things, and how, as an entrepreneur, I have a few practices. We have 3 practices, chiropractic practices, and I'm in the startup of a couple other businesses that are healthcare initiatives and some really exciting stuff going on. And how do we deal with that? And so that's how we'll address this podcast. And that's what the format of the podcast will be. That'll be the look. That's be how we lay it out. Cool. So today, really, we are in week 2 of exactly what my 3rd practice is opening. And what's been on my mind and on my heart this week is the momentum of energy, the creation of energy. Where do you get it? How can you get some? What's that juice taste like? Is it caffeine? Is it exercise? What are those things? And if I'm totally transparent, I had 3 other chiropractors this week call me, text me, reach out to me. And so that I knew that it was time that somebody wanted to hear something about how do we create energy. And how do I create energy in my practice? How do I create energy in my home? How do I create energy in my life? It's not something that just boils up always, right? If you are watching this podcast, you may be in a place or space where there's not energy. And I do mean that very, very intently, a place or a space, because we're going to talk about both of those, right? Where are you standing and what are you looking at, the place or the space? And how are you creating energy? And so as I talked to those doctors this week, I really started to ask them, what are they looking at? What's their energy going into it? And what are their feelings around the practice, their drive to work? What are they doing? How are they setting themselves up? But more than that, where are they today? Where are they right now? What does it feel as they walk into the office? And how can they change that? I like sports. I like a lot of sports. I like to watch sports. I like to listen about sports. I like it in the shorter amounts. I have 4 children at home, so I like Sports Center, if I'm being totally transparent. But one of the people that I like in sports and I really respect, even though he's been honestly, I'm a Razorback, so he coaches for Alabama, is Nick Saban. And Nick Saban is, arguably, and I will say arguably, one of the greatest coaches of all time. At least he's created a legacy at Alabama. And he's created that not by this long-term vision, and he doesn't teach his players this long-term vision. He used to have this clinical psychologist by the name of Trevor Mawad. Trevor has just passed as of last year, but he was one of the first sports psychologists that went in and worked with Alabama. And what they worked on was super interesting. What they worked on is where they are today. They wanted the players to focus on that down. The average down in a football game, 7 seconds. So if you're only focusing on 7 seconds of energy, well, that makes it really easy because I can smile. I can increase my voice. I can give some tone. I can turn a little bit of music on. What are the things that you can do to create energy? And then that energy turns into the next 7 seconds, because obviously the clock keeps ticking, right? And I love that concept, because if we know for a fact that I just need to focus on where I am right now, I can fix. What I'm looking at right now, I can make changes to. But I don't know what the future holds, so I need to bring it back to where I am right now. And that's really what I told these docs. I said, hey, look, here's the deal. If we're having a problem energetically with new patients, if we're having a problem, the people aren't coming in, if you are loathing going to see your patients at the office, or loathing going to work if you're not a healthcare practitioner, if you're loathing those things, those avenues, those places in life, what's the energy that's happening prior to that? What momentum are we beginning to create? Amelia Earhart, she says, always think with your stick forward. What does that mean? It literally means that you need to be creating momentum, and that momentum will generate energy, but be thinking about how you're going to get to the next place why you're doing. So the first doctor that's opening up my third practice, I said, I want you to focus on handing out as many cards as you can hand out. You and I both know no one calls anybody from a business card. But what does that do? It creates momentum and energy that he's pushing out. And when you're pushing out in the right places and spaces, you create a vacuum to bring back in. And I said, look, here's the deal. If we're starting a new practice, it's not that we're trying to tell everybody that we're here, but we're allowing you to give your energy out to the community because we want it to return, because we are willing to give first, to be able to give first. And I love that Amelia Earhart said that, and that she was the first female to fly over the Atlantic. And I'm sure she had plenty of time to think, but in momentum, create the momentum. The other doctor I talked to, his practice was slower. He for whatever reason, he had slowed down in his practice, and he asked me, well, how do we create more patients? How do we create more new patients? And he asked, what about ads? Well, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and that's a common way that marketing people will use to bring patients in. And I said, he goes, but I don't love those patients. Sometimes they don't want to commit. They want you to fix it in one visit. They want you to be the Jesus, and really there's only one Jesus. None of us are him. So we're not going to get it fixed in one visit. That never happens, not in any doctor's office. And so I said to him, I said, well, if you're having a problem with patients, but you don't like the patients that you can draw with an ad, then the problem's not with the patients, my friend. It might be with you. So let's turn the ads on. Let's get the patients in, and let's get the reps. Let's get the people that are coming in to create a momentum of energy that you are able to internally get to your healing state so that you can help more people. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that rhymes, but to me, it absolutely does. If I get the opportunity to sit in front of somebody that I might be able to help, that puts me in the right heart space. Whether they can afford my care, whether they want to believe that I can help them, whether they're willing to do the work that it takes to get them better is not up to me. What's up to me is the energy that I create to be able to say, I can help you today, and I can do that over and over again. And if we repeat that, we create momentum. And if we create momentum, then when the wheels start to turn, and that's how we get practices, and that's how we get businesses, and that's how you create momentum in your life from the small wins, the small little things that stack up over and over and over again. So as you look towards creating momentum, and these docs that are having these conversations with me about how do I create energy, look at your space. Look at your house. Jordan Peterson says that first, if you can't clean up your room, how do you expect your life to look? Ouch. As I think we're shooting this in my personal office, I need to clean my room, if I'm honest. But how organized is your personal life? This is a reflection of you, a mirror, right? Mirror. When I see myself in the mirror, the man is always looking back. Look at the things in your life, change those things first, create the change inside yourself so that the energy starts to flow outside of you. Where are those things? What are those energy sucks? What are those things? And then also, what are the things in your home? What are the things in your work that create energy that feed you? So for me, we love fresh flowers in the office. I ask my ladies to help me. They're like associate florists nowadays because they do flowers once a week. I love fresh flowers. I was looking online to find out what energy flowers give off, right? And I'm sure there's a study. Shoot something in the comments if you know the study. I didn't find it. But what I know for a fact is that when fresh flowers are around, I feel better. It makes me happier. I smile bigger. That cost about $25, maybe. We like Trader Joe's flowers because they're the cheapest and they stay the longest. But they're fresh flowers, and it's a simple fix, but it creates energy in my office. It creates energy with the girl that's putting them in the vase because they always are smiling and laughing when they're clipping that. So where are the things that you can change? We put essential oils and smell goods in our offices. I put them in my home. I'm weird. I even have some in my car because scents really affect me and how my mood is. And so I know for a fact that if I can control those things, it puts me in the right space that I have the energy to be able to produce. and be able to give and be able to push. But if I'm pushing out this way and all the things in my life are pulling from me, I'm never getting refilled. So a lot of things I stack up in my life are by design so that I can recharge and re-energize. And so here's how I'd like to make that shift to you today and how you can help for yourself and what I love to do. And these are things these are not new things. If you know me very well, you know about these things. You've probably had a drink with me or a conversation with me at some point, and I probably recommended for you to do these things. So I thought, why not start with some of the early health tips that I absolutely love and use daily. One way that I create energy is to check yourself. Okay. I do it two ways. I got one. I love to take a shower. I think that taking a shower changes my personality. That sounds bizarre. But what happens to me is that if I can get in the shower and rinse off and reset, that changes my day. I know that I have a morning routine. If I can step back into it, if the day has given me things, stuff happens. You can ask my team, ask my spouse. I mean, I've gone to the gym just to take a shower so that I could reset, reapply my deodorant, redo my hair, the whole bit, because I needed to change my trajectory for the day. Be wise enough and smart enough to know where you are and be able to make a pivot from the place that you are. So as soon as you get a break, take a shower if that's what you need to do. The other thing I do every single day, besides shower, obviously, but every single day is I take a 15-minute nap. Some of you might not be able to get to sleep in 15 minutes. I run hot. I drink a lot of caffeine. I see a lot of patients in the day. I talk loud and fast. My energy is high. So in order for me to be able to do that for 2 shifts or consecutively day after day, I have to recharge. Well, the way I do that is I actually take a hyper nap. What I mean by that is I take a nap that's about 2 hours and I compress it down into 15 minutes. How do you do that? Well, I use something called binaural beats. Binaural beats. And you can grab that on YouTube. You can just type in binaural beats. I like the ones that look more scientific. If I'm totally transparent, they have like equalizers and really cool looking. The ones that have all the woo-woo, I mean, they're great. I just don't know how much they've studied them. I know that these work, the ones that have the equalizers. And so there's one that's a 15-minute nap. How does that work in the science? The science is this. So if you have stereo headphones in and you put binaural beats on, what happens is an impulse goes into one ear and it crosses over and stimulates the contralateral or opposite side of the brain. Impulse goes into the opposite ear and stimulates the contralateral opposite side of the brain. This cross stimulation causes you to go into deep delta and relax. Be able to go down into a deeper meditative state or a deeper nap state. Very similar to the REM of when you're getting all the way back down into your deep sleep cycles. Super important. If you have kids, once again, I have 4, I would drive around, my hometown is Tulsa, I would drive around Tulsa consistently and the kids would fall asleep. Why do you do that? It's the same thing. It's the same thing that binaural beats are doing. The brain gets overstimulated and it shuts down. This lowers into a deeper state of meditation or napping, which compresses the time. So I promise you, give this a whirl. I've had people time and time again. I was at a conference 2 weeks ago, and somebody said I'm taking the best naps ever just because you dropped that knowledge on me. So binaural beats, but you got to have stereo headphones. You can't just play them through the house. It doesn't work quite that way. The other one that I like to do is breathing techniques. I used to do a lot of speaking in my hometown, and I would always bring balloons for the stress part of speaking. I would bring balloons to the people in the crowd, and the balloon trick is really easy, and you can do it with your kids. It's very applicable to your kids, and they have no idea, or your teammates or your spouse. But what you can do is you can actually get them to blow up a balloon just like you do, right? Just normal. You blow the balloon up. What happens is very interesting. The physiological happenings of blowing up that balloon make you expand your lungs. And if you can think about how the anatomy work, the lungs are here, the heart sits somewhere in between. Okay. It's typically to the left. If you know the anatomy, you get that. But just imagine them sitting between. So if we were to inflate these balloons called the lungs deeply inflating and deflating, what that does is it provides a massage to the lateral aspects of the heart. What's cool about that is the heart is also a muscle that reacts on its own. So by accident, not by accident, by design, really, that inflation of the lungs actually causes you to lower the heart rate. It calms you down. And so if you have somebody that's having an anxiety attack, that's why the bag and the anxiety attack works. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody do that, but that's the point. Focus on the breathing. I want you to focus on the breathing, but if you really, really want to work on being able to calm and be able to maintain Zen, that's an excellent one. And it's excellent to be able to give it to your kiddos too, because you blow up the balloon and they're going to be crying, but you'll notice by the time they get done with the balloon that they've calmed down. It's because the physiological reactions. We're just using science to leverage how these kids act or how we act as persons. And the last one that I like to use to create my own energy is I pick a time that I want to wake up. So I actually reverse engineer what time I'm going to go to bed, and I have slots for myself. My spouse has slots that she goes to bed. If we leverage this correctly and we miss our slot, we wait another 90 minutes. Let me give you the reason behind that. So if you go in 90-minute sleep cycles, anybody ever woken up and felt like they just got hit by a train? Like you felt like you just were groggy and it maybe had too much to drink the night before, but you didn't. You know what I'm talking about. That deep, like I can't get it going. What happens is you're waking up in the bottom of your sleep cycle. And so if you can engineer from the time that you want to go wake up, 90-minute cycles going in reverse, this gives you options to fall asleep. So let's just say if you want to wake up at 5:30, some of my sleep cycle times are about 9:30. And then I would get in at 11. If I miss the 9:30, I got to wait till 11. That's the most effective time for me to wake up. Otherwise, I'm going to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning, or I'm going to be at the backside of it, falling asleep during the middle or not being able to hit my alarm, wanting to hit snooze. I engineer how I'm going to be able to wake up in the morning based on what time I'm going to bed. These are just a few, and we're going to go deep on sleep. Right now, I'm playing with the mouth taping thing and running some tests, which creeps my kids out because they come in my bedroom and I got tape on my mouth. But so I'm playing with some, so pay attention for that stuff in the future. But those are my big three that are regular for me. On a regular basis, I take a shower, but I do a reset shower quite often. I reset to become from Dr. Matt to Matthew. Before I shoot this podcast, I grab a shower. Anytime I have to do what I call a costume change, in other words, I have to become a different person in order to step into a position, I need to change my energy and my flow. A shower helps me get there. The other one is balloons or breathing. You can get apps that can control your breathing. Balloons are really fantastic. And then lastly, grab some binaural beats, man. That's super cool stuff that you'll be able to take better naps more effectively. Works with kids, but try it on yourself first. I'm talking about the deepest 15-minute nap that you could ever really get. And then on the backside of that, just as a close, and if I'm just raw and honest, I this morning I wake up early. This morning was 3 o'clock, 3:30ish. And yeah, I'll say it. So this morning I was listening to a podcast, as I usually do in the morning with coffee. And they were talking about the obstacle is the way was the book that they were doing and really just breaking it down. But what came out of that for me this morning, at least, was something by Marcus Aurelius. What did he say? Amore fate. And I may have messed that up. I probably screwed it up. Is that right? Okay, that's right. Okay. So fall in love with fate. So what is that? Fall in love with fate. Well, the concept of that twisted me up a little bit this morning because shit happens and it's gonna happen. So what we are able to do, as I was getting ready to prep for the podcast, I knew I wanted to talk about the power of energy and creating momentum. But what I want you to watch out for is the shit that happens. It's gonna happen. This is the thing, right? It's gonna happen. This is what I told my doctor at the third practice. Things are gonna happen. You're gonna have people show up and then they cancel their appointments. Things are gonna happen. Fall in love with fate. What he means by that, I think, my interpretation is what can I control today? What do I have the action of today? And I'm going to tell you, if you heard the podcast and you heard any of this content prior to this, it's your energy. That's what you have the power to control. You have the power to control your energy by what do you create in your space and in your place. You got me? So amore fati is this ancient saying that's been thousands and thousands of years out of the Roman Empire. And I just heard it this morning, and it's rocking my world. And I hope it rocks your world too. But what does that mean to you? And what can you control? Fall in love with the fate. Shit will happen. But is it going to change your overall destination, or is it going to lead you to a new one? So that's all I got this week. That's what's going on in my life. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you got some good stuff. Binaural beats. Don't watch the one that has the woo-woo stuff. I like the ones with the equalizers. I'll check you guys next time.